When you ask what the fuck is that noise in the background, Zeos, that's what it is. We're at 66% of this 2.5 hours so far print, which is just a test cube, and it looks like it fucked up a little bit there. Did blue stop feeding? Oh, blue stopped feeding. Why? Why did blue stop feeding? That's red. Why did blue stop feeding? Blue, feed. That's red. Maybe blue didn't stop feeding. What the fuck is going wrong with this? God damn it. Now it's supposed to be doing blue. Is it doing blue? Yes, it's doing blue. Blue's coming out. Okay. It's just all fucked up. Anyway, whatever. This video is not about that. This video is about a computer. Well, it's sort of a computer. This is going to be my new NAS. So, I have a NAS. I have a Synology NAS. I have a really nice Synology NAS with an extension on it. And the Seagate drives that it came with, because I was sponsored to build that by Seagate, started dying, let's see, about 9 months, 10 months after I got it. And the HGST drives haven't failed at all. And Western Digital makes good drives too, but not Seagate. So what I've got here is one of my patrons, JDM Watt, runs serverbuild.net. And he's very persuasive in saying, hey, you need to spend $2,000. And I'm like, I do? And he's like, yeah, you can't use that Synology. It's bad voodoo. And I'm like, why? And he's like, because it'll kill your drives. And I'm like, but it hasn't killed any of the HGSTs, and it doesn't matter. He's putting up for the software for this. I honestly want more backup than just a NAS that could die at any moment, because there's currently 2 Seagate drives just collecting bad sectors. One's over 400, one's at like 80 as of today. But it's still normal. So I said, you know what? Fine. I bought 2 replacement drives to put in that fucking thing, and I'm going to build another whole entire NAS, and then I'm going to have at least 2 NAS here for a while, and then I'm probably going to copy once I trust this one, and the other one is stabilized and healed, I will take this one, leave it here in my second bedroom. I'll take the other one that I currently have, do a full mirror, bring it to a friend's house or my brother's house in New York eventually, if we're ever allowed to go back to New York. And he'll have a copy of all my data, and I'll have a copy of all my data, and it'll sync occasionally across the interwebs, as soon as the internet can handle that sort of data transfer, throughput, and we'll be golden. Nuggers. Look, Pasta, I'm building a computer now. Wee! Anyway, she's eating dinner. I hope she actually listens to that. So, $2,000 sounds like a lot, but not really when you think about you're building an entire computer. Here's what a NAS is. The one I have, the Synology, is a box. It takes 5 hard drives. It was $800, and it's got an operating system built in, and network card, and you plug it all in, and it's good to go. You could access it with a web interface, and it's good to go. This is going to be $2,000. It's going to be 6 14 terabyte drives, but I'm not going to lose. It's going to have double redundancy. I need 2 of those 14 terabyte drives to do nothing, 4 that are actually functional, and I could add on up to like 28 more drives with still only 2 disk redundancy, 2 disks needed for redundancy, which is fucking insane. I'm not going to lose any of the data size in that, because I'm going to use it's in the title of this video. I probably, Zeos, you should title this video. It's going to be an Unraid box. And the way that's going to work is I'm building a computer, cheap computer, Athlon computer. I don't have the processor or RAM right now. Those are going to be the last things to show up. The processor, RAM, and hard drives are coming on Tuesday. It's Sunday. I do have the video. I have the motherboard. I've got the power supply that I used to use in my old gaming machine, but it was too low power. It's 530 watts, and I needed more for my GTX to run VR. This case, in case you can't tell, is a fractal design, which is actually really well designed. It's a Node 804. That was a terrible throw. It's a Node 804, and it's currently on its face. No, it's currently on its ass. This side, power supply, these 2 racks here slide in like this, screw in. These hold 4 hard drives apiece. That's 8 hard drives. I currently only have 6 coming. The way that Unraid works, as far as on my knowledge right now, is you don't need an operating system on any of the hard drives. You actually do have an M2, and this is going to be for cache. This is a 256 M2, super cheap. This is a 32 gig little USB 3.1 SanDisk USB card, USB fucking thumbstick? They used to be called thumbsticks back in the day when they were the size of a thumb. Now it would be called a toothpick or a fingernail. Anyway, this is going to hold the operating system permanently. You're going to leave it in here, plugged in. It's going to load the operating system every time you turn the NAS on, which shouldn't be very many times. It's going to load this into RAM. The RAM is going to be where it lives. I don't know if it's going to use this solid state to hold any of the operating system files. I know that this is going to be the cache. So if I'm downloading things to the NAS or sending them out, it'll just read everything off the drives, put it on this, and then this will then send it out to the network and get things back. So this is where the data exists before it's sorted into the hard drives. So that's cheap. That's cheap. This motherboard was like $75, and it's I don't have any crazy networking requirements, so that's cheap. I've got an extra RAID card. Well, not a RAID card. It's just a SATA card because I need more than the 4 that are here. So here's another 4. So that's 8. So that covers the entire amount of hard drives you could possibly ever need. And then some fans, a shit ton of fans. It came with 3. This case came with 3 120 millimeter fans. I bought a 5-pack, and these are Arctic, just Arctic. And according to a JDM Watt, I've actually owned these Noctuas previously, and I never used them in anything. I have Noctuas. I love Noctuas. I love spending the money on Noctuas because they're great. He's like, yeah, these are just as quiet and way cheaper. In fact, they're insanely cheaper. I think that 5-pack was like $27, and they're all pulse width modulated and everything. So we got PWM fans, a shit ton. We've got enough spots. We could do, well, since the hard drive arrays are here, you can't put fans up here, but you can put 2 fans up here if you wanted to, and you put a fan here and a fan here, and that's 140, and that could be 140. And then you got 4 spots for fans in the front, and then the 120 I reversed the power supply because it has a vent on the bottom, but he's like, no, don't bother. Just have it help push air out of the case and turn it around. And I'm like, all right, whatever, because here's where the hard drives are hanging, so you want more air out there, and you're gonna have more air out here to air out and air in, and it's all filtered. The whole front's filtered, the bottoms are filtered, the top is actually filtered. So it's one giant open mesh that's filtered, only the backs are not filtered. So as long as you bring air in everywhere else and out the back, you should be good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to now mount this in here. I did the power supply already. I don't think you need to see that. It's 4 screws. And I put a washer on this one because I don't trust the way that screw always weirdly mounts. So the way you have to mount, this is not going to be like a real tutorial. Like it's a real tutorial. It's a Zeos tutorial. Like it's going to be, I'm going to edit it. And by editing, I'm going to stop the camera, do the boring shit for 20 minutes, and you're going to have to figure this shit out on your own. We'll start with mounting the motherboard because that thing's going to make noise the whole time. And all you have to really know, here's what the motherboard came with. It actually doesn't show. I like it when the motherboard shows exactly where the mount holes are, because otherwise you got to like hold it the fuck up to the light. And like, okay, there's 2 screws there. There's 1 there, 2 in the back, 1 down, 2 on top. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I see 6 of these big rounded holes because this doesn't know what motherboard you're getting. And it's gonna go there. I wanna make sure I'm not crushing everything, every single thing. But there's no studs, and the studs look like this, which they just screw into the board. It comes with, the actual case came with this cute little adapter. Wasn't that cute? For a fucking Phillips, which I do actually have my this, and I'm going to set this to screwdriver, and I'm going to set it to no. I'm going to set it so that it can't over tighten anything, because as soon as it squeezes, it just clutches like a motherfucker. And I also have a manual screwdriver here because, and I actually need to get my, I have a lucky screwdriver. I've had this screwdriver since the year 2000, maybe before the year 2000. This is always like, I gotta build a PC. So here you go. This one has to be used at least somewhere in this. There's all the hard drive mounting screws for that. We can start. And the first thing you do is you find out where those holes are. Some of them are universal, like these. Like, look, you can go even further over here. But it's those two or those two. Sometimes you gotta put it in here and like look, but I'm pretty much not gonna have to. I could just do like fingertips, like okay, it's not this close one, it's this farther one, and then that, and that line up, and that's below it, so that makes perfect sense. This one actually already has what looks to be like a stud in it. I'll double check. I'll basically take a screw that's designed to put the motherboard in, make sure that that actual stud is threaded. It looks threaded. It's kind of hard to tell. Oh, and it's gonna suck if this screwdriver is not magnetized. You really want... Yeah, it's gonna suck. The suck is gonna happen. Alright, so here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna stop the camera. I'm gonna get all the studs. Everywhere I think they need studs. And then I'll come back. Alright, I just put 6 studs in. I'm like, that's not enough time. I'll just keep doing some more work and then I'll put the camera on. But I've forgotten to put this in. And it sucks. I should wiggle this around in front of the fucking camera for like 3 minutes. So you remember, put this in. This is the little backup plate that makes everything look pretty and seals it out so the air doesn't come through and you get grounds and everything. So that just goes... Where is he? There. There. It's very sharp, by the way. It's like a bunch of razor blades just chilling out. This is the inbuilt fan control for high, medium, low. Ta-da. So now, you are supposed to, according to the manual and everything, mount the CPU and the cooler before you put this in the case. Yeah, I'm not going to do that because I don't have the CPU or the cooler or the RAM or anything. So I'm going to put it in after the fact. They worry that you're going to stress the board on the pins and everything. I want you on a flat surface. I think it'll be fine because I can reach around to the back of it and it has this beautiful piece of metal here that has everything clip onto it. We'll be fine. Famous last words. It's very pretty. Got a Japanese battery? Yes, it's a Japanese standard battery. Okay, so we're going to go in. And those pretty much line up your entire board laydown. You go down, and you should be able to see all of your screw terminals line up. And we're actually really, really pushing against this. Like really, really giving that a nice strength. I'm probably going to go with that one first. The order in which you screw things in. And by the way, the lucky screwdriver, magnet tip. So... You know how I was complaining about how this is going to be real hard? Yeah. Strike that. Reverse it. We're just going to go over. And you could have a wrist strap, a static strap, if you want. Or you could just wear shoes on a carpet, like I'm doing, because that's what a baller would do. Don't put it in there where you need them to die. You don't need to put Loctite on these things. I only need 6 of them, so that's 1, 2, 3... 5 remaining. So I'm gonna screw all these in now. I don't know what's wrong with this fucking printer. It could just be this model, but I've had to do so many things to it so far. I've been ripping it apart. So that's done. That's done. Studs are in. That's screwed in. Wiring is a big deal, and not like that fancy. Ooh, look how cool I made it look. I only give a shit about airflow. And really not on this side, because there's not going to be any stress or a graphics card on this side. I care about airflow here, where my hard drives are going to live. Here. So all of this needs to be sorted. And I noticed that I need a, here, this is a CPU plug. So this particular lead, what the fuck am I doing? There you go. Under, over, under again. This. Wow. This one, there is a perfect hole in the top of this case. Right here. This is a pass-through that you can go whoop over and plug in the CPU. Now, do I even give a shit about it? Because that's going to put up, here's where the hard drives are sitting. I could do that. Or I could just go around it into this big empty, this is going to be a giant empty space. There's going to be a CPU cooler here, which is undetermined. But all of this space, I don't care about. So I think my goal is going to be to take all this cable Maybe this one will be the only one I put through this up here. Since that hole exists and my OCD would really be pleased by me doing this. But I'm going to pull all the excess, all the extra cables, all of them, except for the bits I need to power the hard drives. I'm going to try to put it in that under slot there. Because I don't give a fuck. There's no... Having a nice wire can come later. I don't want them in this side. I want them in that side. And actually, wait, no, not that hole. This hole. In fact, this is for a graphics card. It's never going to have a graphics card. I'd cut that off if you wanted. This is before modular power supplies. This Enermax, which I am a huge Enermax fanboy. I know it's not normally a thing, but I am. This power supply was when modular meant, yeah, you could unplug like the ones for eSATA and for Molex. But, you know, the main bus, that's permanent. So you can't like even undo that to deal with it. So you want to just sort of do this planning, this wire planning, right after the motherboard's in. Because then you could at least see things. Like I got this, and I'm going to need 2 of these Molex, not 4, and then a floppy connector. But I'm not going to cut it off like I did last time. Like this, literally, I cut off. Somewhere around here is the old one here. Because when I mounted this power supply on my other computer, I only needed 1 eSATA connector. So I just went, slice, took these 4 and threw them in the dust. So that I only had 1. So this is 1 entire rail. So the other one's going to have 4, and then I have these adapters. If you haven't seen the unboxings for this, by the way, there's an unboxing where I actually probably explain a lot better what's going on, even though this should be the one. So these are Molex, 4-pin Molex to eSATA. And there's a very specific reason we're doing this. I mean, actually, you didn't do it first. I did it first, like, years ago. Just, you know, I know we're not taking score or anything. Boston said she built a computer on video first. The reason you want, and the reason why JDM Watt and serverbuilds.net says go with a 4-pin Molex adapter for all your hard drives, is because some hard drive manufacturers are dicks. And apparently, companies subtle like Western Digital on certain drives will enable one of their pins on the actual hard drives that are in external arrays to be sensitive for putting suspend mode on with 3.3 volts on a pin, so that you can't shuck the drives. I'm going to be shucking 14 terabyte drives for this. In other words, buying external enclosures and then ripping them the fuck apart to get the raw drive out of the inside of it, because it's way cheaper than buying the raw drive. And I don't understand why, but that's what it is. And using a 4-pin adapter, which is crimped and not molded. Crimped are fine. Molded can catch fire, but crimped ones are fine. Using an adapter with only 4 power wires means that they don't have access to that pin to permanently sleep your drive and have you be all fucked up. Baby, you did it sexier. I mean, I'm pretty sexy right now, but maybe Princess Pasta will watch this video and link her thing. Now, so that's one reason to use the Molex adapter, because the Molex is stupid. It's just power. And this is never gonna ever fucking do anything. It's like circumventing DRM by literally, you know, putting clear glasses on. It's not even that. It's like plugging into a regular power strip instead of a special enhanced DRM power strip. And that's the end of it. So I've got 10 things. They only have 8 drives. I only have the ability to store 8 drives. I'm only getting 6 drives. I'll probably buy the other 2 and just fucking throw another $500 into the wind. Because 2 14 terabyte drives for $500 is fucking stupid cheap. By the way, Best Buy. I'd love to link to Amazon for that, but they don't have it. So now I've got this set of wires going up and over the top, which is there's a lot of wire here. So I'm not sure if I actually like that, but it's probably still better than dicking around. And you can plug things in. Just be prepared to unplug them to reroute and go around things. Like, you do not want to be plugging this wire in over here when you have the CPU and the cooler in place, because it's like, especially if the top's on, it's all put together, you're never going to get there. Keep in mind where you want your hands when things are going down. Like, I don't have to plug in the power supply for the actual motherboard until the motherboard's done. Until everything is done. That's like the last thing you plug in. And now, we keep as much shit out of this as possible. This could even come down and over here. Actually, that's perfect. As long as it's not in the way of any of the fans that are going in, I can get wire ties and just wire tie this up and make it small, like that. Just keep it away from the hard drives. Keep it away from the airflow. The airflow is what we need. Keep the ebb and flow. We should probably mount... That's a screw. Did I drop a screw? Nothing fell out of the motherboard. I just had... Maybe I just... Oh, I lost that screw when I was doing that thing earlier. Let's mount the M2 just to get it the fuck in there. I would say ground on the case, but it's not on. We use the fine screwdriver for this. So this basically just right here. It's a little tiny screw, and that's why it comes with little tiny screws. Just realized. This little son of a bitch, it's notched, so you can't really fuck up the orientation. It slides in, it doesn't quite fall down. You have to like push it down. But you push it down, put that screw in place. I love these little precision craftsman screwdrivers. That's it. This now has a motherboard. This has a motherboard with a hard drive attached to it. You can't get closer to the fucking processor. I mean, you can. I'm sure there's some way you could put it on the back and that would be even closer. But we're not there yet, scientifically. The front panel for this has the USB-C and lights and everything else, and that'll get plugged in probably also last. I want to do all 4 front drives will be the good ones, the quiet ones. Even though, and I'm going to point this out now, I love this case. This is like spaces, but holy shit, who the fuck designed this? So here's the fascia of the case, which has this like... So here's your vent at the bottom. Then there's just nothing at the top. Place for 2 solid states. And there's a slot load. When I unboxed this case, I went nuts because what the fuck? It looks like a slot load thing. And sure enough, you can mount a slot load CD-ROM here, like a laptop style slot load here, and have a CD tray right there. Even though there's no way to eject it. There's no button to eject it. So, I mean, I guess you have to eject it with right-click in Windows. That'd be sucky. Here's your control panel. Here's your LED, which I'm sure is blue. And the two SATA drives, the two SATA drives in the front, like way there. That's sort of weird. But here's my point: is yeah, I could put 4 fans in the front, but to what end? Like, where is our benefit to it? We don't have any airflow from this. You got to hope the air comes down through this. It feels sketchy. It feels sketchy. Now the top of this case, the sides are obviously closed, one's a window, but the top is actually the most interesting. The top is a giant foam filtered and metal filtered louver. So this is like, you have to take this into account when you're dealing with like the air control of the whole unit. So me being me, I was sort of like, well, should I just have every fan blow out? Like every fan blow out and have just air cascade down through this. But I think that's a bad idea because I just think that's a bad idea. It's not a terrible idea because there's also holes here on the bottom, which would be for the graphics card, which you're probably not gonna, I'm not gonna be using. So when I first built my first computer, I actually built a cardboard box. I took a cardboard box and I took all the fans that I knew I was gonna put in my computer and I attached them to this cardboard box. I cut holes and I zip tied them in. And then I put a little extra hole with a piece of paper in front of it. And I turned all my fans on and I saw if I had positive or negative pressure because I had all different sizes fans. I had 60s on the top, 80s on the front. I had, I think, another 80 on the back, and then like a 92 on the bottom. And I wasn't sure if I put these 3 fans on out and then this fan on in, was this 92 equal to 60? And I just wanted to see if that piece of paper had positive air pressure or negative air pressure and sucked it against the box. You don't want negative air pressure. As soon as your computer case has more fans blowing out than in, every little crack and crease and drive door, back when we were using CD-ROMs, will collect all the dust because air is getting sucked into it. You want to have more fans blowing in through filters than blowing out with just letting static air come from any fucking orientation. Now this sort of makes it not matter. The entire goddamn lid is just absurdly vented, but it's also impossible to clean this. Like if this got dirty and dusty, if you made this the filter where you suck down, you have to either peel up all these metal hooks and slide it out, which isn't the worst thing. I mean, it's doable. Or you've got to just hold this whole thing under your shower like this, just get dirty while you're showering it off. I'm not sure how much more I want to do tonight without the rest of the equipment here. I can mount that in there. I love the fact they're using all the thumb screws in all of these slots, by the way. So they use these big, this is what holds the whole case together, is those. So you get an absurd amount of them. Stay there. I'm taking this one out because I'm going to mount this at the lowest possible. Oh wait, that's wrong. That was very backwards. This is going to go here, just because I don't want it to be in the way of anything else I'm doing. And I can thumb screw this back in place. Computers are easy. For those of you who are coming here like, hey Zeos, you think I can build it? Yes. Computers are like, they're even easier now than they used to be. They were easy back in like the late 90s, early 2000s when I built my first computer. And they're even fucking easier now. Like the dread of Windows fucking 98 or 2000 Pro are gone. The drivers, the fucking RAID control driver, because you use these two, not these two for your fucking eSATA. Like, oh, it's so much easier now. This has a hard drive mounted to it. A lot of them have graphics. This already has an HDMI output. If you're just looking to put a computer together, I'm going to drop a CPU and RAM in this, and I'm done. Done. So there's where that goes. That went down nicely. Is there anything else I can actually install? I could actually... I actually need to take this to my regular computer and download the package, giggity, for it that's going to run the entire operating system. But for now, I'm just going to plug it in. I guess one of these USB-Cs will probably be fine. I'll probably end up plugging it in the front in case you need to update something on it. You could just you literally just unplug it from the unit while the unit's running. I believe while the unit's running, just unplug it because it's already done with it. Go update the files on it, plug it back in, set the unit to restart. It reads everything off of it again, and now it's the updated version. It should also keep updating it on the own. It's going to have the internet, duh. So we've got that installed. We've got this installed. We got this. We're going to have a pile of extra things. By the way, I love this metal case that this came in. This is just classy. It's fucking classy. Like I'm not going to plug in the motherboard. There's no reason to plug anything else in until we get the RAM and the CPU cooler installed. By the way, never use the motherboards unless you need, like, for some reason, networking drivers. Just look this motherboard up on the internet. Get the driver suite. If it's AMD, you get the AMD drivers. You get the Radeon drivers for the whole control, the whole thing. If it's, you know what? I don't even know anymore. It's been so long since I put together a computer. Like, do the motherboard manufacturers have it on their site, or do you just get like NVIDIA or ATI or AMD? I don't even know anymore. All right. My next step. What I could do is fans. Because they're not going to really be in the way. Like, it's going to take away approximately this much space, but there's also a lot of this that I've got to deal with. A lot of wires I've got to deal with. So what I'm going to do is fold this over here. I'm actually going to tuck this under the newly installed card to just flop around. And I'm just going to start screwing in fans. Now, you can actually install fans on the top here, up to 140 millimeter fans, but only on the inside of the case, because when this goes down, it goes down flush. And by putting it on the inside of the case, that is ruined when you go to try to put this here like that, because you can't fit a 120 millimeter fan in there, in that gap. So you'd have to move this rack to the bottom. There's a mount hole down there if you want to move one of these racks down. Or don't put the hard drive racks in at all. And then this could be for a radiator on the inside. You could put radiator here, radiator here, radiator here, radiator here, radiator. It's a very, very, I like it. It's Hypercube. Ever see the movie Hypercube? It's terrible. Pasta, if you're the one watching this, link hypercube. If not, if I'm the one watching it, Zeos, link cube and then hypercube, you bastard. So I can't do anything, can't do jack shit with those. I can do jack shit with fans because I have 8 120mm fans and I'm not 100% sure I want to use the originals also, but I'm 90% sure I want to use. These are the ones that came with the unit, these fractals. I should really get a 12-volt supply and just turn them on. Are these? These aren't even pulse width. Fuck, now I don't want to use them. Because these, the PWM fans, will actually ramp up and down their speed based on their need. And regular old fans just are on. They'll report if they're spinning, but they won't raise and lower. Which is why this unit has this switch in the back for low, medium, high on the fans. Alright. I'm going to install fans now. I'm going to install the 4 new fans in the front and 1 fan here on the back or here because both of these need a fan. So if I do all, but again, if I do all 4 fans in the front, then I'm going to do 4 fans in the back unless I did 2 in, 2 out. No, that's dumb because then it's just going to chase around in the space. I love fluid dynamics, and this is like one of those parts of the computer build that it's like, I feel like I can do this right. Like there's not just a generic way to do this. I feel like there's a right way to do this. That'll give the most flow of air. And another thing I've got to consider is the hard drives hang down like this. So you get these blades sort of going that way. And you're gonna get a little bit of airflow through this. I feel like there's a better solution to get air to your hard drives, but I don't know it yet. So okay, going off. I'm gonna mount a couple fans and I'll come back. So how much time has passed since the last video? Well, this happened, and I would like to describe it to you, but I cannot, for I lack the proper wording. I think it's something to do with the stock files in there are just garbage, and they're not cut properly, or the fact that it's thinking one side may have been PLA and one side have been ABS. The PLA, they're both PLA, so maybe you need an ABS on the other side. Either way, the blue gave up, and the blue is the better filament. On more to that in a second. Hold on. Man, do I need water. Water. So, I've managed to screw in 4, after dealing with that entire liar and fucking bullshit, I screwed in 4 of the Arctic fans. By the way, for those of you who don't know, there's always on a fan here, somewhere. This is actually in a shitty spot. Right there, there's an arrow and an arrow, which says the rotational direction and the air direction. And it's usually always blows towards the motor side. And that keeps the motor cool, I guess. Or it's just the way it's always been from the day one. So, if you could touch the blades without hitting the motor, it's blowing that way. So all 4 front fans are blowing in. Now, I put these hard drive racks back in because I had a realization. That gap is just wide enough to fit another fan. Now, it's not exactly the greatest fit, and there's not much air, but if you wanted to bring air from one drive through another, then out, and then out the back, I can't think of a better way to do it than that. Now, that means I'm going to end up using all of these fans. Are either one of these thinner? Actually, these fractals are a little bit thinner. And I don't mind a louder fan in the center. The other problem is, how do I hook up all 8 of these fans? It sort of dawned on me. And here's the thing, they are pulse width, which means there's 4 pin. This is a 4-pin connector. But I'm not going to have even 5 pulse width connections. But you can daisy chain these like this, which eliminates one of the pins. There's only 4 pins when you eventually get onto... Once you go past the first one, there's only 4 pins instead of 5, or 3 pins instead of 4. So, I don't know, would 1 pulse width control them all? Because if I could do that, then I only need 1 plug for a fan, which might be what JDM Quad is thinking. Here's another 2 over here, because there's just so many fans now. But I might consider something to custom mount a fan up here against the rail. So this would just be here, and then you slide the hard drives in next to it. Just to keep moving air. You want air to move consistently. Come in, move through, and out, or down and out. And that seems like overkill, but I'm Zeos. Have you met me? So anything that I could do to get more airflow in this, I'm going to do it. Or at least correct airflow, forcibly through it. I also have to consider the other side. Since I don't have hard drive racks there, I could just have the other... Oh, now I have this one just randomly plugged in. So now I have 4 fans left, 1 more pulse width, which I think I'd put on the back here. Although Pasta did send me some information, which I believe she stole from a friend. I can't verify this, but I know Princess Pasta, and she's a wonderful person. But she said, the 3 pulse width modulator should be intake, and the 2 voltage controlled should be exhaust. I do 1 exhaust in the back and 1 on the top. What you're trying to get is positive pressure to stop dust getting sucked through the cracks. So now, since she can't tell what I'm recording, and she can't know that I said that already, I wonder if Racing Mars said that to her. I might build computers, but that was very specific pulse width modulator talk. Because even I was like, because you want, I guess you don't want the exhaust fans. You want the intake fans to be pulse width, and the exhaust fans to be voltage. You'd want the fans that run constantly to be the positive pressure fans, which would be the ones in the front. So I don't know how that works out. Anyway, stop. Separate and listen. This is entirely too long, by the way. Like, I could put this in another district. I could have this, and I only need 2 of these here, so I'm probably gonna end up folding all of this back like this, because then I'm also adding this fucking mess, which has a long extension to begin with, onto this here. Let's see, where's our... What this is going to look like. Let me show you the way to madness. This is why people who have really clean, like, engine bays and computer cases are geniuses, artists. Because here's completely useless, and that looks like nothing compared to the ones that actually have to get used. And then these are going to be, keeping in mind that the hard drives are facing downward. The hard drives don't end there, they end like there. So all this has to be under all this. And then SATA cables, those red SATA cables. I have piles of SATA cables. I need at least 8 of these coming out of this and going over there through that hole probably to plug in all the drives. You can't see me rubbing my face, but I'm rubbing my face. I love building computers, I really do. But I'm not building this computer for joy. Like, you're not witnessing Zeos upgrading his gaming computer. That's coming. I'm going to do a full Ryzen build. AMD fanboy since day one. I finally get to go back to AMD because they're beating Intel handily. But this build, this is a kind of an oh shit, I might lose all my data sort of build. Like, I need to hurry up. This would not be happening if Amazon wasn't slow as fuck sending me drives. Now, I'm all about sending medical supplies first. But to deliver something that's prime shipped on the 23rd of April when you ordered it in March is like... Just put the 2 hard drives in the mail, Amazon. And then I could just rebuild. I could have had my NAS rebuilt already. And I would have been slowly changing over, and this wouldn't be a thing. But this is good. This is going to get me into the angry building mood of like, you know what? I can build any fucking computer I want. I'm the fucking best. As long as it's when the software goes on. That's where the hitches hurt you. The hardware is easy. A wire gets kinked here or missing a screw there. You get around that. It's when the software just pummels you with pain. So I can put this drive, the 1 fan here. And I'm going to probably pulse with that. Even if it's just because these are the quieter fans and I want them in the rear. Although I'm probably going to end up putting you like on top. Not on top, but on the bottom on top. These will be the 3 here. Out, out, out. 4 in, 4 out would be a perfect balance. The question is, are those blow harder than well, certainly then the Enermax becomes the question mark. Although that does have a larger fan. I think that's a 140 in there. Yeah, that's a 140 in the actual power supply. Which doesn't mean anything if it's blowing 80% as fast as this is, and this is going to blow harder. We'll see. We'll see. I got 4 in the front, though. 4 in and so far 1 out. So I'm going to attach this to the back. And I've just been OCD putting the Arctic logo, the correct orientation. Although you should really pay attention to your lengths. So if you have this here or have this here, that's the difference between making it and not making it. Or it could be. So don't be like Zeos. Pay attention. Now I've run out of black screws. And I've been starting them with this and then finishing them with the powered. And here we go. I'm just going to do the bottom. Just get it in there, because the way these screws work is you actually cut into the fan's plastic. You actually ruin the fan's plastic to put these in there, because they're very, very coarse screws. And you don't want to tighten one down all the way and then go back, because then you have a fan that's under tension and then all of a sudden the screw holes don't line up. Just get them sort of in there and let it wiggle around. When you get it all the way on, then you tighten it, just like when you're tightening a tire on a car. If you don't know how to put a tire in a car, you don't screw one down all the way. You put it in and just barely hold it on so it's that far away. Then do the next one across. Then do the next one. Get them all sort of on there so it wiggles. And then you start tightening like this. A little bit at a time, so it's perfect, because it's a wheel that's spinning at like fucking 90 miles an hour if you're me. And I have this on the clutch of 1, which means it might clutch early. And I'm going to go across. All right, I'm going to go clutch of 3. There you go. And sometimes clutches only work when you're going fast also. This is a Bosch, so it's actually pretty good. Clutch of 2. So there's another fan. So now that's out. So now we've got a... If this was completely cut in the middle, this side would have 2 in and 2 out. That side is 2 in and none out right now. Let's remedy that. All right, would you look at that? How beautiful that looks. God. So I'm doing just a single PG PLA left PLA. So the 2 types of filaments I have back here are an atomic PLA and the stock PLA that it came with. And frankly, the stock PLA so far sucks. And this PLA's dedicated left side print is coming out beautiful. So, here's what I've decided. There's no point in waiting for the processor and RAM to show up, or the hard drives to show up, to start doing wire management. Cable management is the most painstakingly annoying process, and it's fucking required with this build. Because we're running so many hard drives on another side of the case with the power supply, but then I have to bring things into this power supply. So what I'm going to do, and I'm going to give a couple tips and not actually let you sit through. I'm not going to force you to sit through the fucking madness that this is. But I've finalized the fans. I'm going to leave one 120 millimeter fan out. I don't need all of them. I've made that conscious decision. I'm okay with having an extra fan. We have the 4 on the front blowing in, all of them. This side has 2 blowing out, 1 up, 1 back. Right above the CPU and right here. Because this side is pretty much a dead side. The other side, as we discussed previously, oh god, so many wires. Try not to that's why I left this, by the way, the 1/4-inch yoga mat down. Because if you do put the case on a wire like that, there's plenty of soft space to let it push down the mat and not to crush the wire. So on this side, we're going to have 2 in the front, 1 in the back. If I do add 1 to the between the drives, like a lunatic, it'll have to be that one. I'll make that decision very last thing. Like if my head just doesn't allow me to fucking do what I want to do. But right now we have 4 in, 4 out. So it should be, that makes my heart feels good. The center one would be a static. It wouldn't be going in and out of the case. It'd just be moving it through the hard drives. So I could legitimately make my brain tell me to do that. Honestly, this is a big enough flat surface patch that if I took some either 3M dual lock tape or double stick gray Velcro tape, I could just go like this. And I'm pretty sure, oh, never mind. I don't have enough surface area there. Yeah, I don't have surface area where I need it because there's ridges here, which I guess do something. They're there for looks apparently. I could also just, depending on how tight these are. Actually, they got a pretty good... I would say the other option is just loop something through this and drill holes here and just tie it. Literally tie it up there. Well, tie it up there like this. Actually tie it up there with the wire coming straight down so you have the most access to the wire. I don't know. We'll find out. Find out more! Because, I mean, if I could just literally clamp it like that's just magically have it float there, this is great. And air goes through and then out. So I might use that fan. We don't know. But here's the thing. This fan controller, which I think I'm going to have to use for the white fans, which I currently have 2 of those white fans installed. The fan controller is powered by a fucking SATA connector, like not a Molex or a regular old fan bus. So in order to use this controller for the fan, I have to power it. Now I have this one single connection here. So I ran this through to this side, and I might just be able to make it go... We'll turn this around the other way. Like that. If I wanted to. And then I've tucked this wire back here behind the power supply, because that's pretty much a... Like, the power supply is not moving. Where it is where it is. And I could shove this all the way back, and I could tuck this up. Like, just tucking things. Like, behind this fan. And then if you wanted to go even further, you could take the wire ties that are on things like this. Take this wire tie off. Put it through the extra hole here on the fan. And then go around these wires back here. I'd have to pull the wires out. Put the wire tie in. Tuck them back under. Get in here and manipulate through these holes and do things and get things sort of strapped in. This isn't going to move anywhere. I'm not taking this to LAN parties. Although, I would probably take this to a LAN party before I took the Synology. A, this is bigger and harder to steal. And B, it looks cool and I could have lights in it and everything else. The Synology is just sort of like... I feel like a Synology is a very heavy, dense block of don't drop it. Where this is a computer. I feel more comfortable with this. So that's one thing I may have to do. Because I still have to look at how many fan outputs are on the motherboard itself. So, let's see. SATAs, GB codec, system fan 1, CPU fan. That's it. We have only one fan bus on the actual, other than the CPU fan, which is obviously getting plugged into the CPU cooler, the system fan is only one. I remember my first build, they had like 4 fan headers, and I had splitters on that, and it was crazy. That was before PWM and anything, so. It's like this fan here, we've got, so I gotta plug in lots of fans. I wish I could test this. I may have to ask JDM, because he's obviously done this more than I have. How, is this how you do this? Could I plug them into themselves after they get going? And just have it sort of perpetually power itself? Drawing from, you know, the key of the universe? Alright. I actually do have an extra. I took that hard drive out, that Seagate hard drive, which don't want to curse us with a Seagate hard drive yet, but. And that's actually going right there. So I really wouldn't need to even attach this to that fan, because that is where this wire is going. This cage is holding it in place. And then he's got thumb screws there. Up, down, up, down. I want to say plenty of space. Actually, I'm gonna need a dummy drive. Dummy thick dummy drive, which I just so happen to have. This is a 500 gigs Barracuda 7200.11 with a date code of 08197. I'm sure some of you know who the fuck that means. Anyway, this was like the fastest drive I ever owned, and I just today pulled it out of the computer. That it was working in until the blackout this morning, and then it just sort of gave up. Or at least it stopped my computer from posting. It's got the dust. It's got the itis. So if this is mounted like this, I could finally see exactly how far down. So we have not even 2 fingers. I have thick fingers, and this is not 2 fingers. Over here, it won't be a problem. Over here, it's going to be... I'm going to have to get creative, let's just say. So I know exactly what I need. I currently need 6, but I'm going to run 8. Because this computer can handle 8 drives. And you do not want to have to go and add on a fucking cable if you might in the future end up adding on to it. My math correct here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep, so all 8 of these need to go from the other side of the motherboard. And I could plug them into the motherboard and the expansion card and bring them in here, and then just start working out with zip ties and everything else. So let me actually do that. Give me a break. Give me a break. Break me off a piece. Fuck, I want a Kit Kat bar. Shit. All right, we're gonna do a little bit of arts and crafts now. Have this hard drive, and we know where it's going to mount. Now every SATA cable, actually I think you can get ones that are not right angle on one end. We have a straight end and a right angle end. And I thought I had to make that choice, but nay. You see, we don't, wow, that got stuck in my crotchal area. We don't get to make that choice because we are using, well, the rack fell out, that's cute. Since we are using this card, and actually, even on the motherboard, you can't possibly get the right angles to come out because they're all the same way. If one could go down and one could go up, that would be a different story. We can only go one way. So, that means all the straight ends are going to be on this side of the case. Now, being me, and I'm going to probably have the 4 come out here and 4 come out there, obviously, and bundle them together. I want to mark the ends of each cable with either a M for motherboard or C for card, or maybe E for expansion, whatever's easiest to draw. And I'm just going to put that, like, here's the way this goes. Here's our, assuming that, well, here's outward. Assuming you face the drives this way and not this way, although there'll be nothing really stopping you from doing either or, we can actually see now how the gapping looks. So you do got a nice clear, like, straight through of air that we're gonna have for all except for the last one, which will have the entire back exposed, obviously. But we know it's going in this way, and the way the angle plugs in is this way, facing backwards. So that's just helping you visualize how you're gonna straighten all this shit out. So I'm gonna take the magic marker, and I need to do 4 and 4. So this one's going to be C for card. And this way when I bundle them, because they're all going to going from one side of the computer to the other, I want to know, and I should probably actually mark both sides as C for card, M for motherboard, M for motherboard. I want to know when I get from one side to the other where this hard drive is plugged in, because a lot of troubleshooting is going to have to do with, well, where is it plugged in? Is it plugged into the card? Because you're going to have 4 and 4. I want to make sure the 4 on one side and 4 on the other, because if I do a good job bundling them, which I'm planning on doing, you're not going to be able to know where these wires originate from. So we're going to give these 4 a C. These are my 4 C's. And these are going to be the 4 M's, which is a lot harder to draw than a C. And make sure it's always in. I got to do it. I don't have to do it on both sides, simply because they're going to be loose when I plug them in. I'm going to say, oh, these are the 4 for the card, put them in, and then start straightening. And these are the 4 for the motherboard, and then put them in, and then start straightening. After I'm done straightening, that's when I'm going to need these real bad. So do it. Because trying to trace a single SATA that's... Oh. We're gonna have a visitor, I think. Oh, we already had a visitor. Did you take a shit in my storage room? You wanna hold this magic marker? Ready? Play with it like a kitten. She don't give no fucks. Anyway, so there's our 4 M's. So we're on this side anyway. You might as well plug them in. Actually, they could be W's. These could stand for Westworld. And you're going to see... Now that I've got the powers sort of like hanging out, and I got these, the task that is put before us has been marked. I'm going to start at the bottom. Oh, she's in the litter box here. If she goes wee-wee, she will run with a fervor of 1,000 suns around that turn into the other apartment. Fervor, I said. Okay, so we got 4 there. And we don't have to put those through yet. Oh, no. She's just checking things out. Oh, she's probably gonna drink out of the toilet. Don't drink out of the toilet! No toilet drinking. Fervor of 1,000 suns? I promised them the fervor. Nope, so go fuck yourself. So now, we have these 4, which again, they don't need to be labeled. They're labeled here. They're all labeled C for card. I could label them anything I wanted to. Yeah, these are not gonna be, these should not be in the way when I am done, or when I'm putting the Athlon in and the RAM in and everything like that. So we're just gonna get them in and sort them. Oof, I bent that card pretty hard just now. I'll hold it while I do this. They all have locks. Make sure they all lock. Get them all straight. You don't want any of them twisting weirdly. Twisting is bad on anything that's a data cable. So here's our 8. And like I said, I'm only going to be using maybe... Well, we're going to be using 6 for sure. And I can pull this over and we can share power and data through that. Or I could just use this giant gap. Giant stop gap here. That's not fun. Let's not use the giant gap. Let's use the smaller, more asshole way to put this through. I want it to be more asshole. Assholey. We'll probably put the motherboard ones on top and then sort these behind it. There we go. Now, as far as bundling them together, don't do that until everything is in its own place on the other side. Start, plug it in, get to the other side, and then work backwards. Here, now the computer is completely upside down. Did you ever expect it to be there? No. Look at this spaghetti. Mom's spaghetti. There's going to be vomit on my sweater already. Now let's make sure we have enough reach. We have plenty of reach to get to these drives here. This fucking nightmare. I'm actually going to... Let's deal with one nightmare at a time, and one of the beauties of modular is I can literally detach the nightmares. Come on. So there's our power nightmare. Let's do our data nightmare first. And I'm going to try to get this... I could even... Well, when you get these fans, they come with these power cords wrapped up around them, and that probably would be a bad thing because you wouldn't be able to unwrap it from this section. But they are just going to be slightly annoying for the next 17 to 22 hours. It's fine. It's fine. This was fine too. This was fine. So here's our 4. Now, which one do we have a little bit more length on? Actually, neither one. One is coming off the motherboard, and the other one is coming... Well, we got plenty of space. Plenty of space. Now, I could even, if I want to be super badass, you could take, let's say, where are the M's? Here are the M's. Here are the M's. So there's the M's. Since I know I'm going to be doing at least 4 in a row, and I know the exact gapping based on these 4 screw holes, I could essentially put these in a row like this. Well, not like that, but like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that I could then zip tie that, that, and that. And this way all 4 will just plug in to the 4 drives, and then I'm just dealing with this massive trunk instead of 4 individual cables. And then I could just deal with the different lengths because I'm doing that, because I'm going to have to deal with that regardless. But that's the cleanest way to do it. We're not going to be fully into this like, oh man, Zeos is a cable, hoarder, crazy person. But here, like literally, you know exactly where it's going to be, because if you just distance them the same distance as the screws, then you know it's going to be the exact same distance for everything else on the hard drive. The identical hard drives. It just makes this bulge harder to deal with. This bulge. I love bulges. Don't you love bulges? Everyone loves bulges. If they're all the same length, they're all plug in sideways and we'd be fine. None of these are going sideways. That would be nice. It'd be nice to have a 90-degree sideways one. That would just make this so much simpler for myself. Anyway, now I'm going to stop and I'm going to contemplate life and what got me here. And I'm going to count how many zip ties I have. And I kept all of the SATA wire ties because these are quality ones. They actually are nice. So if you get equipment that's wrapped in those, you might need them for this step. Keep in mind, no one's looking at this. No one's looking inside here. I wonder if I could reverse these sides so that the one with the clear is on the hard drive side. That'd be nice. Anyway, get back to work. No, I'm going to reverse this. Alright, here's what I'm doing. there's the ones on the card are pretty much perfectly even. I got to pick how I put them. The ones on the motherboard have different distances because of how they're coming through. You can see this one's the shortest. So I'm going to rearrange this stack so that I could do exactly like I did here. Shortest, next, next, next. And what I should have done and didn't do, and I'm going to regret it, is I'm going to go back and I label this 1, 2, 3, 4, because knowing which part it's plugged into is fine, but knowing which port it's plugged into is even more critical sometimes. So I'm just going to get these in here. And they have like a natural stack, but that's not the way they want to go. The shortest one I want on the front. So I'm going to bring this over. Then this one. Then, which one's... That one's the longest. This one and this one. So that's the way I'm going to stack it. And once you figure out the way you want to stack it, there. That's the natural way it wants to go. These are thick enough SATA cables, and you could just take a wire tie and get it tight. You're not going to hurt the thing with your fingertips in a wire tie. Just get it tight. And now we could do the spacing. Either go off of this, which I did pretty perfectly there, or we're just going to use this again and try not to drop it on the back of the motherboard like I did because I'm an idiot. Because I should have been working sitting down and not standing over it with an exposed, you know, back plane to the motherboard. It's fine. It's fine. Don't do what Donnie does. So now we basically can put all this, we can put everything we want in order. Like we're obviously going to need this one to be the shortest, so that one comes down here. And then this, why is that not pulling? No, that one's the next one. Just get them rough, giggity. Get them roughly where you want. And we're going to slide this back up. So there's a complete guess, and it's obviously wrong because it's too far. And we're just going to move this, walk this back, and knock the mat on the table. And again, we're just going to use, and you only have to do 2 at a time. You can do 2 here, and then these 2, and then those 2, and then check the overall. We're just trying to get it so that it's just a touch neater than if we... Actually, that wasn't a bad guess. There's our 1. Our 2 is like that. So now we have 1 and 2. Actually, I labeled them 1 and 2, 3, 4, because when I do install these, I'm not going to put a hard drive on the very fascia. Because if I do add the extra 2, it's going to be 1 on this side and 1 on that side. I don't want to have to pull the whole cage to do that. So we wrap this up, and when it's only 2, we can wrap it up twice. I'm probably going to end up leaving these wire ties. Otherwise, what am I going to do with them? Just zip ties? For whose pleasure is going to be making these into zip ties? 1, 2. Obviously, slight minor adjustments can be made on the fly. Of course, I dropped the other one that I absolutely fucking need. It's magnetized. Please be magnetized. Please be magnetized. Oh, it's so close. When your girl sends you a 1-arm stripper and you don't realize she doesn't have 1 arm but she has nice titties, that's... I don't know if that's a good or bad thing. She said I'm too much. I was like, oh, I follow multiple 1-arm strippers and I didn't realize she's a 1-arm stripper. Beauty is in the eyes of the... Well, it's in titties. I didn't even notice. Didn't even notice she only had 1 arm. This is the life I live, where I have to worry about that. Getting called out on that bluff. So now we've got this. Now there's a sort of odd bending happening here. Because things are, it's stacking higher and further away. So you just make sure you get line up there, line up that one to that one, and can this one bend over and line up to that screw? That was the lamest fucking... I guess my 3D print just finished. So now, while holding this tight, reorganize down here and give this another wire tie. Because we don't want that to move when I've got one on the other one. So we're just gonna... It's nice and stiff now. So now this is not great, because now we have to go in the back and have to go like this to plug in. But we're gonna get to that. In the interim, let's take a look at what my baby did. Baby, you did so good. You did so good. Look how nice that looks. Wow. Okay, build finished. Time, 1 hour, 29 minutes. Now, I'm pretty sure you gotta let the fans cool everything off because the extruder's hot. An amount of wire was negligible, and I think I'm supposed to take it off the base while it's warm. I hope. Now this is the part that actually can fuck up your alignment of everything, so I don't think you're supposed to wait for it to cool down. Wow, this is like, it's literally like that's really solid. That's like a solid piece. I'm super, super impressed by that. That atomic PLA. I'll figure out how to get it off there, I guess. Later. Let it do its, you just cool off, do your thing. So, I'm gonna balance the extra power cable, or the extra signal cable, between this side and this side. This side obviously doesn't matter as much. There's no graphics cards going in. We have oh, there's a screwdriver. Fucking that up. Okay. We could just pull back as much as we need to make this side neater. I'd rather have the CPU, GPU, well, CPU side be a fucking disaster. And have the side where I need airflow to actually matter, because heat's being generated from drives, be clean and neat. So, which one of these is longer? This one feels like it wants to be further away, so I'm going to go with this one over here. Now, I wish there was a bigger gap behind the power supply, because then I could just really like just boom this. But we're going to have to put this like right here and give this a nice twist. And these are data cables, so do not fuck them up so bad that you can't use them. I'm just hoping I don't have to disconnect all this. Like, just getting them here and sort of organized already makes my soul feel better. Actually, I could legitimately just mount this real quick. This dummy drive. Thick dummy drive. Which we have, those big screws are here. They're nice. They come with nice thick head, broad head over these rubber inserts. So this case is actually really good for spinning disc mounting. I'm just going to use this to sort of mock up everything else. And I could move it from one side to the other. So I would actually like to have two of these, one on the very, very front, one on the very, very back. And you only need one rack to move it left and right as you're doing this. But I'm not screwing this in super tight either. This is all just for show. Faux show. There we go. Okay, so there's our dump. This is going to be a very heavy computer when there's 8 of these, not 1. So this is sort of hanging down. Haven't decided what I'm doing, if I'm pushing that back through or not. This goes here. So that's all the way the hell out. You know what? There's no way I'm going to be able to plug these drives in once it's in place. I'm not going to have one in the front here. I'm actually going to go 2, 3, 4. Or 1, 2, 3 from the back is how I'm counting it. So it's going to have to be plugged in like this. So I have to make sure that I have the space and leverage to do that. Then lift it up and then slide it in while all of them are in place. While also making sure that this side can stay and do that. That's not bad. Like, I could see it's going to be close, like right there, but not terrible. 3.6. It's not great. It's not terrible. So, and then this is going to be an awful, this is just going to be a fucking mess, because it's going to be like, bend it down. Now this is like, oh, Zeos, this seems pretty nice and neat. You're forgetting we need this. We need this fucking monster. This nightmare. I wish these were, if these were this close together, it'd be perfect. But then we have a 1.5 inch that's not even going to make the bend over this. When this gets plugged in, and we'll use an end just to make it seem better. When this gets plugged in, oh please, oh my God. Okay, we're gonna have to go, all right, so what I just figured out now is that these jump from one to the other, from one to the other. Well, that means they also are only directional in one direction. And if I want them to go like this, that means I have to start on the outside and then jump backwards. I could rotate the hard drives in this. Can I actually rotate? I can't rotate the actual metal where it attaches. So I could rotate the hard drives, but it closes these holes and I lose air circulation. So I'm going to have to, the fascia here, I'm going to unplug this for a second. The fascia here is where this is getting plugged in, and then we're going to have another one there. And that dip means I'm going to have to bend this up, then back down, and then back up, so that they don't have a giant dingle-dangle hanging between them and smashing into this. So we're going to have to do some interesting bending techniques. And that's going to be when I'm mounting them. I'm just going to mount it like this. Just up, 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 then bend this up, 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 down. Get that up between each one of them. And then there's going to be a fifth one, which is just going to be dead in the back. Just hanging off, because I can't fit 5 drives physically on this. So you could, if you felt like it, just cut this fifth one off with a wire snips, and then if you have liquid electrical tape, just tape over it. I wouldn't recommend not trying to insulate that, but this last one, this fifth one, is not going to be necessary. And these were the only ones I could get delivered before like May. So if I could have looked for 4s, I would have looked for 4s. But these are quality pieces, even though we're super cheap. So there's our 4. That's how we're going to have to do it with the power. We'll have to pop it up like that. Get rid of some of that just insane bulk. And then once that's in, then we have to deal with this, which is going to be coming off actually like here. And look how much space we have. So I literally just need to be like here. I could literally plug this in here. I could fucking plug it in. I don't have to do this. But Zeos is just, he's begging me. The real... Okay. Come on, Chewbacca, we have to go. After what I thought was a dead battery, then I changed it, then I came in here, then I started recording, and then it turned out that battery isn't charging, so that was another dead battery. And I put the card out, and I thought the card was full, and it's not, so here we are. What I was saying is, my rage knows all bounds, and I'm very, very Zeos a lot of the time. So here's the other extension that I have to use. I can't stand the thought of having this much wire in here to do like, I guess I could just fold it up like this and just be just do this. Just do this over and over again and just make it real small and then plug this into the thing. Or what I could do is I could cut this, this is the part that goes into the motherboard. Actually, I can cut this too. No, this is a 5-pin. Well, actually, it wouldn't matter because I would just use the 4 that matter. What I'm saying is I could cut this fucking monster up. It's only power. This isn't like a signal cable. You can't take an HDMI, cut it, then wire all the wires together. It's going to be fine. It's just power. And if I use... I have this one that's a single to SATA, which I don't need because I have all the adapters. But this, just look at that. That's bigger than the entire case in every dimension. This is what goes into the power supply, and this is what I need 2 of these. 2 of these. So what I think I'm going to do is I have this single. I don't know where the rest of my add-on plugs are. I didn't find them, or I don't need them really. I just need this plug that goes into the power supply, and this plug that goes to the power supply, and 2 of these. And what I could do is just put it all together. Either solder it or crimp it. I could make this literally this short, because it's all going to get put into these giant takeoffs anyway. This is dumb. Having this much wire in there is dumb, and it shouldn't matter, because I just shove it down there. But I'm Zeos, and I'm not gonna live with... I'm gonna cut it. If I cut it right now, if I just cut it right now. The problem with cutting it right now is I gotta remember which side is which, because that would suck. Don't fuck up, because the way this plugs in, we have an empty port there. We got the 4 pins that go down, and then we have to make sure we know that if this is the white side, I should get a white marker and then mark it so that this is the white side. And this whole thing is down. If you have to round it on the top, far left is the white side. That's number 1. That's pin number 1. So I could do this, because this is dumb. and it's just power. And I'll feel better about myself. I mean, I could even shorten this if I really felt like it. I mean, stop. Stop. Why even use this connector and this connector? Why even just eliminate it? Wow, I'm going to go way farther than that. I'm going to make it so that this 5-way split is super short or the right size and plugs straight into the power supply. I'm going to eliminate this male and I'm just going to replace it with this male or female, whatever it is. I'm just got to make sure I do the so I can cut away all of this and some of this. So that's I think a tomorrow thing. I'm gonna go watch what is it? Something of the Sinners, Stories of the Sinners, Psychopaths movies. I have to go watch the third one. There's 3 of them before I could watch season 3. The stories, something of the Sinners, SS. Yes, and that's what I'm gonna do because this is a fucking mess. This mess here, I could reduce this mess and make myself feel like I did actual custom install work because it's that mess plus this mess, all this mess, and then these will come out, and then this will literally just be the plug straight into the power supply because I don't need the rest of this shit, and that's too much, man, too much. All right, this is the concluded part 1. I'm going to call this as the conclusion of part 1 because I'm not going to touch it again until I do part 2. Now, to do part 2, you're probably going to see me soldering. Like, you can probably skip a bunch of part 2. And I can clean up this pile. Just go. Oh, let me see if I can get this out of here now. I'm pretty sure, by the way, the only way to turn off a 3D printer is like to literally... Like, there's no... Settings. Pulley. Fan on... Oh, that is a noisy fuck. Why do I need to put the fan on? Why would that be a thing? TP adjust, factory reset, pulley language. Like, there's no off. What's even making that sound? Anyway. That's annoying that the switch is in the back. Alright, it's on a fucking... I may have to heat that base up, and then I could try to... Anyway, part 2.